Great Texas Senator, Mr. Ted Cruz. Senator Cruz, thank you. I was never worried about that. Producers get so nervous. I knew you were going to come around. So, look, we have a bunch of things to talk about, and you're the right guy. But I just want to start with this issue. It's now surfacing. I had heard rumors about this, I don't know, a week or two ago. Now we're going to have two reconciliation bills as though one's not hard enough. The first one's going to have energy, I guess, the border, and defense. And then we'll get to the tax cuts later on in the back end of the year. Now, I don't know what your view is. We could debate this. I mean, people can disagree and agree at whatever. But I don't like it. I think Tax Cuts 2.0 should go on the table right away legislatively. And by the way, I don't know if you heard the clip we played from Senator Mike Crapo, but why is it that permanent spending increases are never scored as deficit increases, but permanent tax cuts are? There's a current policy baseline that the current policy tax cuts should not be scored as a revenue loser. That shouldn't be scored as any darn thing because it's permanent policy. Anyway, Senator Cruz, those are my beefs. You can see I'm very overheated about it.
Well, Larry, you always are. You're a man of strong opinions, and you're almost always right, so that's a good thing.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Listen, in terms of how Congress is going to proceed, I think it's likely going to be the way you laid out, with a series of different reconciliation bills. And really the decision in terms of the timing is coming from President Trump and the Trump team. We had this morning, the Senate Republicans all had a policy retreat where we spent 5 hours together talking about how to deliver on our promises, how to really take the mandate that came out of this election and deliver on the mandate. We have a Republican president, a Republican Senate, Republican House. We got to roll up our sleeves and go to work. And I will tell you, the view of most Senate Republicans is that if the president prefers to proceed focusing first on securing the border and then on extending the tax cuts, that we will follow the president's guidance in terms of the order of priority. I think the thinking is that when it comes to securing the border, we're going to see on January 20th the president issue, I expect, a series of executive orders reversing the disastrous unilateral executive action Joe Biden took that caused this crisis. And the feeling is that we can pass legislation providing the funding to secure the border and get a relatively rapid win on an issue that there's a clear mandate from the election to deliver on. In terms of the tax cuts, I am entirely with you. We have got to extend these tax cuts, and I want to see the tax cuts bigger and bolder. I think that part of the reason the Trump campaign wants to have the order the way it is you know well, having been through the 2017 tax cuts, that negotiating the exact terms of that legislation, that's going to take some time. There's give and take, there's back and forth. That's not going to happen in January or February. It's going to take a number of months. So I would not think about it as delaying the tax cuts, but rather that the negotiation is going to take longer to get there. I expect that we'll pass the tax cut bill probably in the summer, and it's going to take that long to negotiate the details. I'll tell you from my end, I am going to be pushing to make them bigger and bolder. And you asked about what Mike Crapo said. He's absolutely right that it should be current policy that is the baseline. It is a ridiculous scoring to suggest that maintaining the tax levels where they are is somehow going to increase the deficit. That is an artificial Washington construct, and it doesn't make any sense.
You know, I think, let me just stay with the Crapo point. Mike Crapo is a terribly smart guy. Terribly smart guy. You know him well, and I know him well. You know, there'll be new tax cuts. Okay, that's a different matter. New tax cuts, they should be scored dynamically for growth and revenues. But that doesn't qualify. But the existing tax cuts, first of all, the corporate tax is permanent. But the depreciation and the individual tax cuts and the alternative minimum tax and the child credit, all that, that shouldn't be scored again. That's going to be current policy law forever and ever. Just like spending on welfare and food stamps and Medicare and Social Security. You follow me? I mean, I think Crapo's logic is absolutely brilliant. And so somebody should stand up for him because there's too many Republicans cower under the phony scoring of the Congressional Budget Office. And then the GOP makes decisions in the Senate that we come to regret later on, or that you all come to regret later on. You don't have to do it that way.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, we had a vigorous discussion about exactly this topic this morning in the policy retreat, and I and others were strongly supporting Crapo in using current policy as the baseline. You know, something else you said there, Larry, you look at scoring historically, the way the Congressional Budget Office has scored in the past is using static scoring, which does not take into account growth effects, and the scores on the 2017 tax cuts were wildly off. We cut taxes in 2017, and the result was the next year and each year thereafter, federal revenue went up. We were on the Laffer curve in a position where cutting taxes increased revenue. And so you are absolutely right. We should use dynamic scoring. But what does dynamic scoring mean? It means more accurate scoring because it actually takes into account the effect of the policies you're putting in place. And I don't think we should be constrained. I think we should think big and bold. And I'd like to see, you mentioned the Treasury Secretary nominee's 3-3-3 plan. I'd like to see 4% or 5% GDP growth. I mean, as you know, in Reagan's fourth year in office, 1984, the GDP grew 7.2%. We can do that with strong tax policy and repealing job-killing regulations, and we've got a mandate to do both of those.
I'm just saying, sure. No, you're right. I'm just pointing. Scott Bessent's a cool-headed guy and a smart guy, and you know he's on the right track, and he's also a supply-sider, believes in dynamic scoring. But I fret a little bit. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going on the record here. I fret. All right, you think you're going to get 2 reconciliation bills? Good luck on that, Senator. It ain't that easy. You know that. It's not that easy. And I remember back in 2017, the first half of that year was spent trying to end Obamacare. And that did not end well at all for the Republican Party. Now, this is different. You got better group of senators, I think, and better policies. But I'm just saying, people out there want to see take-home pay go up. There's 2 ways to improve take-home pay. I mean, 3 ways. 1's better wages for growth. 2 is lower prices from less inflation. And 3 is more take-home from lower taxes. And I think they want to hear about tax cuts just as much. I'm not diminishing the border. I get that. But I think they want to hear about tax cuts. So I don't know. You have to think about that. One last one.
And let me tell you real quickly, Larry, on that. One of the things that I am urging to my colleagues is I think 2 of the very first bills we should take up in January when we come back are, number 1, my legislation, the Justice for Jocelyn Act, named for Jocelyn Nungaray, that provides that illegal immigrants who are apprehended must be detained and they can't be released and threaten our families. I think we ought to take that up and vote on it. And a second one, going exactly to the point you just raised, is my legislation, no taxes on tips. That's something Donald Trump campaigned on. I've introduced the legislation. My legislation's bipartisan. There are 2 Democrat senators who are co-sponsors, and I'd like to see us vote on no taxes on tips. And I think we could pass it without needing reconciliation to do it. I think we could get 60 votes on the floor of the Senate, and that would be really powerful to put no taxes on tips.
How about overtime? Overtime. What's the outlook for that?
I don't know if we have the votes on overtime, on no taxes on tips, because we've got 2 Democrats on the bill, because Kamala Harris said she supported the idea. I think if we put it on the floor of the Senate, it is very hard for Senate Democrats to vote against it. So it would be great to pass a tax cut, force the Democrats to vote for it, and put it on Trump's desk to sign on January 20th.
You know, I almost forgot about Kamala Harris. Thank you for reminding me of that, Senator Cruz. Last one. I only got 30 seconds. How's my pal Hegseth doing? There's a front page headline in the Wall Street Journal website, and he's in trouble and this and that. This guy's a patriot, highly decorated warrior. You know him very well. We all know him here and rooting for him, and he's been on this show. I don't know how many times I've been on his show. How's he going to do, Senator Cruz? And did Trump single him out and say, we're sticking with Hegseth?
Look, I think Pete Hegseth is going to be confirmed. I think every one of Trump's cabinet nominees is going to be confirmed. I sat down with Pete yesterday. He came to Capitol Hill, sat down with a number of senators. As you know, he's a decorated combat veteran. He is a serious guy. He spent his lifetime fighting for the military, fighting for veterans. And I'll tell you, he is clear-eyed about the need to reform the Department of Defense to get back to its core mission, supporting the warfighter, enhancing lethality. being prepared to defeat our
Yes.
enemies
Yes.
and putting the woke,
Yes.
politicized agenda of the last 4 years behind us.
Did Trump,
we need that clear-eyed
Did Trump
reform.
single him out? Did President Trump single him out in this when he made his phone call today to you all?
Look, I think President Trump is going to stick with Pete Hegseth, and I think he's going to get confirmed. The reason the Democrats are they want to make the confirmation hearing into a circus, and they're throwing mud at him, but they don't want to address the core mission of the Secretary of Defense, which is getting back to supporting the warfighter. And let me tell you one of the benefits. When Pete Hegseth becomes Secretary Hegseth, I'm going to make a prediction right now. A year from now, military recruiting numbers are going to skyrocket because people are not wanting to enlist right now because they don't like the woke nonsense under the Biden DOD.
That's a great point. Thank you, Senator Cruz. As always, sir.
Thanks,
Thank
Larry.
you ever so much.